What are you most excited for and or about?
I'm excited to continue to write my story. I'm
Mm,
excited because this reflective piece or element has also just reminded me of how much I've done and accomplished and, contributed in so many different spaces. I hadn't paused to really take stock of that, like, ever.
mm.
One day you're cruising along, checking all the boxes you've set up for yourself, and then something shifts. Maybe it's a birthday, a loss, a health scare, or just a random quiet Tuesday when you catch your reflection and think, oh, this is a midlife moment. In this episode of The Invisibles, Yakiry, Jaclyn, and I are talking about that season, the in-between space where we're too old to be young, too young to be old, and still very much becoming. Is midlife a crisis or a reawakening? What are we learning about ourselves now that we simply couldn't see in our 20s and 30s? We share how we're finding joy and creativity again, sometimes in small, unexpected ways, and what this chapter is teaching us about letting go of outdated roles, relationships, expectations, and old versions of ourselves. We're learning to balance honest reflection with intentional forward movement. And because midlife isn't just about looking back, we name what we're most excited about in the years ahead and the kind of reflection we'd offer to anyone else just stepping into this season. Midlife might just be the most powerful and liberating chapter yet.
We often hear the term midlife crisis and have this visual of a man, older man, buying a sports car and running around town looking crazy, or somebody doing something wildly outlandish that is completely outside of their character. But I have had the opportunity to talk with both you, Jaclyn, and Yakiri about reframing what this term midlife crisis is and really looking at it from the perspective of it being more of an awakening. Um, and I will take this moment to recognize Jaclyn is a little younger than both Yakiri and I. So I don't know that you are quite at midlife just yet, but in your work, you talk through midlife crises or awakenings with people. And so I will direct it to you, Yakiri, in terms of when you realized that you were in midlife and how did it feel? Was there a moment? Was there a thing? What was that moment for you?
Midlife, what? Like it just came upon very quickly, right? Um, was there a moment? I feel like everyone, when I say everyone, I mean friends, family, and society says like once you turn 40,
Mm,
like it's going to be completely different. You're not going to care so much what people think. And it seems more geared towards women, right? Like you're not going to care more what people think. You're going to do your own thing. But when I think about midlife, it honestly feels like I've just been through an obstacle course and I'm now catching my breath
mm,
because it's been very much meeting different milestones, right, that I set out for myself. So when I think about midlife, I think about, okay, I thought I'd finally arrived. Like I did all the things. Great. Yeah. But now it's like, oh no, it almost feels like I'm starting again, which is exciting. It's like, okay, you pursue the education, the house, the kids, the marriage, whatever your, path looks like. And then you pause and it's like, okay, I feel like I've mastered some of these roles or I've been doing them for a long time. Now, some of them don't fit or some of them don't feel in alignment with, who I'm evolving to be. So that I can't point to a specific event, but it feels like for the last, since I turned 40, it was very much like, okay, my priorities are different. And I'm thinking about more like how I want to spend my time versus what other milestone I'm chasing.
Yeah. I think for me, it was a moment, and it was when I was actually at the OBGYN, and we were talking about, we've been trying and, it hasn't been successful. And there was this, well, when you're at a certain age, the likelihood of being able to conceive without assistance is diminished, right? And it was at that moment that I was like, oh, I've reached that point where like I'm considered midlife. Like that was a moment for me where it's the idea of being able to have kids and it just happening. And it didn't have to be like, oh, because I think when you're younger, if it doesn't happen, there's this thought like, oh, you can do all these things. But when you get to a certain age, it's just automatically this expectation that you're now going to have help in having children. And that for me was sort of that moment where I was like, oh, so I am there.
So I was pregnant at 37, and
Hmm.
they basically stamp your file AMA, like advanced maternal age. I'm like, well, wait a minute. So it very much feels like there's this label, and one
Hmm.
that I did not choose, right? Because I
Hmm.
didn't feel AMA. But
Hmm.
yeah, that now that you said that, that's definitely one of them.
It's so interesting when you said that you don't feel that way because there's so much about me mentally where I feel I feel like I'm still 25. It's like I'll see things, I'm like, oh my God, I totally want to do that, or I want to go there, or I want this and that. And then, usually my body betrays me and I will bend down or kneel down to get something. And then I'm like, now I got to think about how I'm getting up, or I need to lean on something to push up, or I just decide whatever fell, it can stay there because I don't really need it. Like it's that, or it's I get an invitation to go somewhere and it doesn't start until 9 o'clock. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what now? Like that doesn't work with the way my body works these days. And so that for me is, it's like I feel very vibrant and young mentally, but sometimes the physical body, it can't keep up. And I think it's a frustration. Jaclyn, I have to ask you, in in working with people in therapy, do you see like is there a certain period of time or a certain point of time? Do you see a trend in terms of when people start to realize they're at this big period of life?
I don't think so. From what I can tell, everybody kind of hits it in their own stride, depending on like what life circumstances are happening. I know I personally have been looking at it from a different perspective because I feel like I am now entering into that phase in life,
Mm-hmm.
early 40s. And so I'm like, I don't care, don't ask, don't do. I notice like if I'm talking to my supervisor and I'm like, Anne, like, you want this when? Okay. And then I'm like realistic, like I can't get it done any faster. Like I'm not staying up late to get this done. I'm not going to do like there's certain, I guess, language that is being used during that shift where you're
Mm-hmm.
prioritizing yourself versus whatever else is happening around you. And I think that's kind of what I've been seeing amongst all of my clients, myself, my friends who are in the space or either entering into that space. It's just like, if it doesn't benefit me in some way, I'm really not interested in pursuing that route.
So true. Like I sent you that Instagram page that I follow where she's like, "We do
Mhm.
not care club." And
Yeah.
and she goes through this list of things. We do not care if you're cold and we're roasting. We need to cool off. So, like it's just stuff and it is so funny and it's things that like honestly I hadn't really thought about until I hear her say it. I'm like, "You are absolutely right. I absolutely do not care about that." What is one of the things that you are learning about yourself now that you didn't know before?
Ooh, that's a good one. I have a very short fuse.
Mm.
I could read a text message and I'm ready to respond back with some serious words. And then I have to take a moment and be like, okay, let me read this again and figure out how I want to respond. So I'm constantly judging what's the right response for a situation. So I don't come off aggressive or I don't come off rude. That's probably the biggest thing that I'm realizing about myself now is I'm really losing patience for a lot of things.
Mhm.
Yes, and I also follow her on Instagram, Kia, Just Be Melanie, her and her three glasses, the notebooks, the highlighters. I am living for all of
All of it.
it. I am like, yes, ma'am, all of it. I love her. She gets me through the day sometimes. So similar to Jaclyn, like patience threshold is diminishing.
Mhm.
And when I think about patience, I also think about energy, right? I'm much more mindful of where I'm expending energy. Not even so much time, but energy is
Mhm.
very, very different for me. I also am in this place where I like Yukia, I'm like, wait, it's starting after 9. Wait, do I want to do that? Wait, assessing, right? But I also want to be very mindful of having a balance so then I don't kind of isolate myself too, because I can very much be like, I'm not going anywhere. Home is much easier, more comfortable, etc. So there is that I'm prioritizing more, I'm being more intentional, right, with who I'm giving my energy to, who I'm allowing in my space, right?
Yeah.
Like boundaries too. I feel like a lot of people think about boundaries as like the other person, and boundaries are really like, what is the behavior I'm going to be exhibiting, right? What am I doing? What someone else does is on them, and my expectation of how they will respond may be not what I want. But again, boundaries is what I'm doing. I'm caring less about what other people want to do. Definitely.
Totally, totally. It's funny when you say the whole you don't want to isolate yourself. One thing I realized, I think my midlife realization coincided with COVID and being quarantined. I've come to realize I think I'm an extroverted introvert, because I love being at home. I love being by myself. I don't have to answer to anyone. I feel like I can energize myself. I like being around other people, but I am perfectly fine sitting at home working on a puzzle or watching some random thing on television. That is like joy to me in most instances. I often find myself getting ready to go to places and I think that seemed like a good idea at the time. And now all I want to do is be at home on my sofa under my electric blanket. Like that is real. And so I think to your point, being intentional around how I spend my time and where I spend my energy is so important, because otherwise then I'm grumpy and my fuse is short. Like I don't have the tolerance for the foolishness. If I am leaving my house to be somewhere for a 9 o'clock event that typically probably really won't kick off until after 10, then I need parking to be convenient. I need to be able to wear my coat in and put it somewhere without worrying about somebody walking off with like all these things, right? Like all the logistics need to line up. Otherwise, this is not my thing. And I don't need that. And I think about that too when you said talking about people being in your space. I think about that like when I bring people into my space, when I bring people into my home, I want to create an environment in which I have thought about all of these things that I know would be conveniences and comforts for me that I would want. I want to make sure I have them for other people too, because that matters. So I'm much more intentional around how I do things, with whom I do things, and when I'm doing things in a way that I wasn't before. Um, so yeah, and I think I was also that person where you could probably I was a people pleaser before, and I still am on certain levels, but I'm also real quick to be like, yep, nope, shutting that down. I go from one extreme to the other quick. Like it's like they're two Kias, truthfully. That sort of feels like sometimes. So, how do you find joy and creativity in the season? Because I think, as we've said, we're reframing it to being an awakening. So, and Yakiry, I know you and I have been talking a lot about the ways in which we have been, um, in some ways, like reborn in this period. So, talk to me a little bit about that joy that you found.
I find a lot of joy in not doing.
Mm,
Like you touched on that, right? Like this idea of just being, right? Because for so long and for so many people, it's like you're either the first or the only or the fixer, the translator, but at what cost, right? Like you're always doing, 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 doing instead of just like being. And with the awakening piece, I feel like I have experienced more of a reckoning.
mm,
When I say that, I mean like there's been an element of judgment and an element of calculation before getting to that awakening, right? It's, really peeling back the layers, peeling back the mask, when the noise quiets, when the question is, who am I now and what do I want next? So there's been joy in working through that. There's been joy in reframing as being instead of doing for me.
mhm,
I guess on my end, it would be a lot of the same. However, I am also in a space where I want to be comfortable whatever I'm doing. So like if my friend and I have plans first thing in the morning, I'm like, oh gosh, like let me prepare the night before. Like it's a process. Like I want to be totally comfortable. So I need to think about all the things. I need to plan for like what I'm gonna wear to be comfortable. Where are we going? What time do like it's a thing. It may look or sound like I need to be overly organized or I'm a little anxious about the situation. But the reality is, I just want to enjoy the space while I'm in it, whatever the activity is, so that by the time I get home, I'm not regretting doing
mhm,
that thing with you. So
right.
it's really about making sure, and I notice this a lot when I'm going out with like my closest friends and they all want to go out. It's late at night. They're like, oh, let's put on heels and this, that, and third and dress it. Like, no, I've got boots and they're flat and this goes with that. And I don't care, like you guys get dressed up all you want to. I'm good. Like I just want to be at peace wherever I go.
I
That
want to
is
be at peace, but in heels.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
because Yakiri will wear some heels and then tell me that her feet hurt when she has on flats. I'm like, girl, please. I don't know how
it's
that works. This has been a space where I am willing to acknowledge all the ways in which I may seem so extra or high maintenance or whatever. Like, this is who I am, and you take it or leave it, right? Like, when people say, oh, well, we can, they want to go on a trip and they're like, well, we won't really be in the hotel that much, so it doesn't matter where we stay. Oh, yes, it does. I am not staying around the way just because we can say we went to this place and you take all these fabulous pictures and then at night we come back and you barely want to like touch anything. Like that's not happening. Part of the going away experience for me is staying in an environment that feeds my need for luxury and nice and comfort and all of that. Right. And I am okay with that. If we can't do that, or if that's not part of your program, I am okay with being like, I don't know that this is the trip for me, and I'll catch you the next time. Like I'm okay with that. Or I will spring for VIP if that means that we get a table and I can sit down, especially if I attempt to wear some cute heels. Like I need to be able to sit down. And I want, even if I end up standing, and like we talk about this all the time because you both know I love concerts. And there are just some venues where I'm like, well, this isn't going to work because it's a standing room only. And I'm not getting there 5 hours early so that I can get a good spot in front of the stage. And then I got to stand there. And then if I have to go to the bathroom, which inevitably I'm going to have to do at this big age, like When you gotta go, you gotta go. It's not a, oh, I'll hold it and I'll wait and I gotta go. I'm not doing all of that. And so, we have this funny joke, my husband and I, because we went to go see a concert a few years ago, and I got us seats. We weren't down on the first level, but we were the first row on the second level. Perfect seats. I could see the stage perfectly. It was amazing. And we were at Madison Square Garden, and my husband goes, we're in a concert venue of 22,000 people, and the only two people sitting are the artist keyboardist and my wife. I was like, why do I need to stand? I have a perfectly good seat at which I can see everything that is happening. I am cheering, I am seat dancing, I am having a great time. There's no reason for me to be standing. This is why I bought the seat. And like that, I will spring for the extra so that I can be comfortable. And, I don't, if I'm going out to eat with a group of my friends, I'm not doing the whole, oh, we have to itemize who got what, because generally I'm at the stage where I'm going out with people where we pretty much all get the same thing. And so, if there is that occasion where every once in a while I'll go out with somebody who they're not drinking that night and I'm having several cocktails, I'm like, don't leave the tip, I got it. Or, or don't leave this, I'll take care of it. Or I'll get I'll get the check this time, you get it next time. Like I'm not doing all of these things and I don't have the patience for that. I'm not interested in that. And if that's how you are, we can't really spend that kind of time together. You're welcome to come over to my house and we can hang out here where we don't have to nickel and dime a bill and I can be comfortable on my couch. So, I mean, that's for me. It's all about the comfort and intentionality around the spending of time and the way and with whom I do that. So I agree with you guys 100%. What have you learned about letting go?
I have learned I'm a control freak. I need to actually let people figure it out on their own, whether it's my 10-year-old or, fully grown adults. But the need to ensure that everything is perfect for everyone is something I am letting go of. I'm also really just, if things fall apart, they fall apart. I'm also not responsible for them. So for so long, I've had so many roles and responsibilities that that's just how I operate since I can remember, since I was a kid,
Mm-hmm.
right? So getting to this place where I'm, you know, getting to know myself again and really prioritizing myself unapologetically, I'm letting go of the need to control, like all of it.
I'm very proud of you for that.
Me too.
Because again, I know you and we've talked about this, like, well, now we need to do this, and now we need to, like, it's these imposed roles that we've put on ourselves. No one is necessarily assigned it to us, or it becomes assigned to us because we've been so willing to take it on that everyone just assumes, like, oh, Yakiry's got it. She'll make sure we're all in line.
Yes. And it's like, okay, like to your point, whether you're taking a trip, it's like, I'll do all the research, I will plan, I will have the itinerary. Everyone needs, you don't even have to think. All you got to do is
Mm-hmm.
show up. But I want someone to
Mm-hmm.
do that for me. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the part that also has changed. I am a lot more accepting and willing to receive than I have been in the past,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I'm recognizing this period where I've done all the things. I've, worked and contributed in so many ways. I'm ready to receive.
Yeah,
I guess for
totally.
me, it's more of a going, I guess it's about the same than going with the flow. Something that I guess I have always been a control freak, needing to have ultimate control over almost everything, and not for others, but for myself. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, what does this look like? What does that look like? Asking all the questions, not to the extent where I need to plan or take over, but really in regards to myself and at the space I'm at now, I'm kind of, it is what it is. And I know when I was younger, I used to hate that term. Like anytime people would say it, I was like, why do you like what? Like, why are we saying that? And now I totally get it. It is what it is. Like, I don't care. We can do that. If that's what you want to do, then you plan it. I will be there. Just tell me when. And that's how I leave it. It just is so much more peaceful and a lot more relaxing not to have to be on 10 all the time.
I think what I've learned about letting go is you also let people show you who they are, who they truly are. And it also helps in terms of managing expectations about how they're going to show up, right? Like I know how I'm going to show up. To your point, Yakiry, like if there's something going on, like I want to make sure that we are fully prepared, everybody's ready, blah, blah, blah. Or if there is an occasion coming up and I, want to plan something, like I've got it all mapped out. And I think in letting go, it's given me clarity about like, okay, who are those people? Like if somebody says these things are really important to them, show me how they're important to you. Like if you know that birthdays are important and I show up for yours and I do this, that, and the other, and then mine rolls around and now I've got to plan what we're going to do for my birthday and I've got to execute it and I've got to tell you where to be and what time and all of that. Like now when I just let go and I'm like, so clearly birthdays are important to me, but they're not to you. So now I have managed my expectations about how you're going to show up. And so in some instances, it's redefined relationships that I've had in my life because I realize I'm the one that is sort of holding this relationship together or holding it at a certain level. And if I don't do it, it's not reciprocated. And it's not fair to me. And it's not fair to them for me to put that expectation on them when that's not who they are. And so it just helps for me in relationship management is what I like to call it. I'm not very good at it, but I'm working on it. I'm working on it. But it is very freeing when you're sort of like, you're not taking that on anymore. It's not your responsibility. You're not getting upset because somebody hasn't, they're not, they're not allowing you to receive. Like it is freeing when you're just like, that's not who that person is. And I'm not going to be that person anymore. So here we are.
And along those lines, like letting people get you wrong. Like you might be on
Mhm.
the narrative, cool, but like
Yeah,
nice.
yeah,
Once you get to a place where you really know who you are and you are, working, living in full alignment with your values, all that stuff just doesn't matter.
correct. Correct. So true. Well, speaking of freedom, how do you define freedom now versus how you defined it in your 20s and then defined it in your 30s?
Hmm.
So, freedom in my 20s was just to have my own.
Hmm.
So, I was all about I need to get my own place and I wanted to finish my degree and I wanted to have the car and the job. And that was like the total focus. And in my 30s, it was more about having the family. Like, okay, let's
Hmm.
settle down and do that and take care of other people that are close to me. Like, let's do the family thing. Where now it's more like me. Like I said,
Mm,
more relaxing, more comfortable, more, what are my needs? I think I realized that I put myself on the back burner during my 20s and 30s because I was so eager to please or get to these certain spaces in life, or I wanted the dream. Whatever the dream was when I was leaving
hmm.
high school was, go to school, get your degree, go further, it's not the same anymore. It's kind of like those things are nice and I'm happy that I did them. But now, like, I guess excuse me, looking at it from a perspective of where do I fit in
Hmm.
to that collection of things? Like what enjoyment did I get out of it just for me? There is enjoyment there, but it wasn't individualized. I It's always attached to a child, a parent, a spouse. Like it's not my individual enjoyment. So that's me.
Yes, freedom in my 20s was definitely a financial piece. The traveling, I could just pick up and go. Like
Hmm.
I love, just being able to. Oh, and freedom was also just this energy I had, right? Like I had energy to do all the things. I would be like, "Where are we going? Okay, hop on the flight on Friday after work, then get in just in time to get to work Monday morning, right? Like, take a little nap, then go to work." So, that energy certainly enabled me to do a lot of things. But similar to Jaclyn, it was also the financial piece of ensuring that I set myself up to
Hmm.
be successful and to, be able to live the life that, I want and wanted at the time. Similar in my 30s, I was very much focused on like, okay, what am I doing now that's going to shape what my future will look like? I've been one of those people who I feel like I was born 40. I've always been thinking about the future and what that looks like. And then when I think about freedom now, it's freedom to say no, freedom to really choose people, places, things that are aligned with my values, right? And when I think about freedom, I also think about time and how much of it I have and how I spend it. So yeah.
That's it for me too. I say you both have heard me say this a lot. It's like freedom for me is just being able to pick and choose and be intentional about how I spend my time, whether it's my personal time, it's my work time, it's doing things that really feed me, feed my soul, because I do feel like I spent my 20s, I was in law school. Everyone said that's what I should do, so that's what I did. And then it was, I've got to get a job that is, while I chose not to practice law, it was still like you have to have a job that makes, being a lawyer relevant. And I spent a lot of time doing that. And then in my 30s, sort of, growing that career path and seeking out the next advance title and salary and all of that, because that's what you're supposed to do. And I did all of that stuff and I was like, but it has not fed me. And so now this is the time where I'm like, no, actually, I'm not doing that. And, this is how I want to spend my time. I want to be creative. I want to explore things and, as my tattoo says, trust the journey and go on that journey and enjoy every step of the way in a way that I didn't before. And so, now this is really about me and discovering what really feeds me. And having the freedom to do that is super important to me. I know for me, I've been super reflective in recent months. I've had the time, the grace, the privilege, the opportunity to be really reflective. I'm curious, how do you balance reflection with forward movement? Because we can always look back and like, oh, I should have done this. Oh, I should have done that. And like live in that. But how do you balance it with forward movement?
So the balance is more appreciating, I guess, what was there, but also appreciating like where you are.
Hmm.
I guess like, does it feed into what I'm doing right now? I think as I was listening to you guys talk, I was thinking about, oh, I feel like really selfish in this space. So like,
Mm.
does it serve my selfishness in the moment? Am I okay with this? So it's kind of like figuring out like, as much as I wanted to do that, am I okay with the decisions that I'm going to make now? Like, do I feel at peace with those? And I think if I can get to a place where I'm like, you know what, even though I didn't do this, but I can do this now, I'm okay. I've like
Hmm.
made peace with that and reconciled, like, I can still do some of those things that I didn't get to do or that I'm reflecting on, but it just won't look the same. So appreciating the journey from then to now.
Definitely. And reflection and then forward movement is something I've spent a lot of time on. I've also realized I'm someone who tends to be in my head a
Mm,
lot. And this time in my life has also required me to be more in touch with my body and being in my body and connecting to my body. And I say all that because I really feel like I'm now at a place where I'm trusting myself a whole lot more. And because I'm trusting myself more, I'm more willing to take action on things. I'm also more willing to take action because I recognize that if it doesn't work, it's okay and I'll be okay. Right? So that feeling of even if it's not the right thing, even if it's, quote unquote, on failure, is still the learning of, what direction I do want to move to. I feel really energized in this part of my life in
mhm.
terms of just knowing myself, excited about what's next, excited about what's possible without the, for lack of a better word, burden of some of those responsibilities in terms of, either the fixer or, you know, being all the roles that you're playing in life. It's required me to say, who am I without the titles? Who am I without these roles? So yeah, that's really been big for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I've talked to both of you a lot about, I am always sort of, what if I had done? And what about this? And maybe I should have. I do a lot of that. And one of the things that I have been trying to be much more intentional about is taking the lesson to moving forward. Like, so that I don't, you're going to make mistakes, but hopefully not the same mistakes. And so that's what I'm really trying to take the lessons, as painful as they may have been, and use them even as my inspiration and motivation to move forward, to sort of be like, this is not the thing that got me down, or this is not the person who got me down. Like I take that energy and repurpose it into something positive and productive. And I've been really working very hard to do that. And I think also realize that, everything happens or doesn't for a reason. And it's really up to me to figure out what that reason is and what the purpose served is in my life. And so I try not to sort of stay in that space of reflection or a wallow, because I have a tendency to do that. I know that's something that I do. So I'm really trying to be very intentional about that. Yakiry, you started to talk about this. You talked about really being excited for what's next. What are you most excited for and or about?
I'm excited to continue to write my story. I'm
Mm,
excited because this reflective piece or element has also just reminded me of how much I've done and accomplished and, contributed in so many different spaces. I hadn't paused to really take stock of that, like ever.
mm.
For me, like I've been working since I was 14. Like I've not had, you know, I've been working since I was 14. I double majored and worked while I was in college. I worked full time and did my master's full time. I was very much just on this, what's that thing at the airport?
The walkway, the moving
Yes, the
walkway.
moving walkway. I'm on it and that's it, right? This is the first time in my life that I've really paused, that I've
Yeah.
really had an opportunity to reflect. So that in itself has been exciting. And reflecting back, if I could do all that,
Mhm.
oof, watch out, for what's coming. I just have this I want to say confidence,
Hmm.
right? Because it's the confidence to just show up and know your worth, right? There's that huge period where we're constantly having to prove ourselves, especially women of color. But getting to that place where I feel like I know myself, I am more grounded in that sense of self-worth. I feel like anything's possible, right?
Hmm.
So that part for me is like super exciting. It feels like the ambition has always been there, but it feels like before it was chosen for me. Now I'm choosing it. Now I'm deciding and thinking about, what adventure I want to have now.
Yeah. And something you said about, you know yourself more now. And it's like, I feel like we took a lot of circuitous routes, earlier in life to get to a point where it's like now we can just get there because there's this, so much more about who you are, what you want, how you want it to look, and what you need in order to make those things happen, especially if you're really focused on that sense of self element, right? It's not that you're trying to fulfill somebody else's expectation or please somebody else, but you're doing it for yourself. So you're like, I know how I have a better sense of how I want to get there. The road may not be very clear, but you know the things that you do not need to try to experience in order to get to that, whatever it is, that next stop in what I call a journey, because until I close my eyes for that last time, this continues to be a journey.
100%. It's like bathing suits. Now you know your body. Now you
Yes.
know what works. You're not trying any of this other stuff.
Yeah, that whole two-piece situation, we're not trying to find the perfect one. I am trying to find a nice compression one piece. But yes, I totally get that. Jaclyn, what about for you?
I I think I have a different kind of outlook on things. I was diagnosed with a chronic illness at like 15.
Hmm.
So in my mind, I guess when I was given the diagnosis, I don't even think I thought I would be here in this space. So
Wow.
I'm just
Okay.
living, if that makes sense. Like I don't have any expectations about anything. I'm kind of just taking it for what it is. And I kind of like that space that I'm in. Before I was like, oh, I have to do all the things, you know, to reach this space there, like very early on. And I guess when I hit like 30
Hmm.
and I had my daughter and the family, and I was like, you know what? I didn't even think I was going to have this. So let me just enjoy the ride for what it is. And it's kind of just gotten better, like wine over time. Like it's just more enjoyable. So that experience has just looked different from my perspective. It's just kind of
Hmm.
like enjoying where I'm at now and whatever is to come next.
There's something that I would think is very liberating about approaching things that way. It's like you're not coming into a space with an expectation. You're kind of, and you can really sort of be present and in the moment because it's not like you had some preconceived set of expectations about what it was going to be like. You're like, okay, here we are, here I am. This is what it is. And here's how I'm going to be in it. You know, on some sense, I mean, and in a lot of ways, I'm like, ooh, that's an approach. I don't know that I could do that because I know
Well,
how I am, but I mean, I feel like that is it's such a liberating way to approach things.
it is. It is really nice. It's very relaxing. And I kind of just can take it for what it is instead
Hmm.
of anticipating it looking like something else. So it's just more enjoyable. Some of my friends who are slightly older than I am, they have a different perspective on like wanting to get the most out of that moment in life. So they're,
Hmm.
like, oh, I haven't been able to party when I was younger because I was working. Now this is the party. This is the travel time as I've gotten into this phase in life. I can do what I want. And I'm kind of just like, okay, like
Hmm.
we'll do it. If you want me to come, okay, I'll go. It's not a necessity. Nothing is urgent. It's kind of lackadaisical in a way, but very peaceful. So,
I aspire to get there.
I know. In another episode, we talk about sort of living life in that way of like, you kind of take what comes and you go with it, as opposed to trying to orchestrate things. This kind of speaks to why I wanted to have these conversations, right? Because I feel like I am so grateful to have this circle of people in my life that are so, I mean, the common thread is me, of course. No, but the reality of it is like everybody is so fascinating and has such a different outlook and perspective on things that I just think is like, how on earth was I able to sort of come together with all of these really very different people and we all just get along so incredibly well and have such deep and meaningful relationships with each other. I'm constantly amazed by my circle of people. And every day I'm like, I am one lucky chick because I get to call all of you a part of my group. And I learn something from all of you all the time. And going through all of these life changes and experiences and traveling this adventurous journey with the two of you has been completely eye-opening. I appreciate that we are able to be like, no, girl, you're not crazy. This is part of what this is, and leaning into it and being okay with sometimes things work, sometimes they don't, but every day is a new day to try to get it right. And getting it right means something different for all of us, and we're okay with that. And I really appreciate that. Before we end, what advice would you offer to someone who is stepping into this phase of life?
I mean, it's that Bruce Lee quote, be like water, right? Like really to what Jaclyn said, at least aspire to take things as they come and accept what is. And control is an illusion at the end of the day, right? Do we really have control over these things? I feel like it's a stage in life where you're no longer asking for permission. You just have the freedom to do what the things are. And not only do you have that freedom, but you also have the experience. You have, in many ways, the wisdom and the power to really do what fulfills you at the end of the day. So that would be my advice.
my advice is I like to be like water. I'm really resonating with that one.
Mm-hmm.
But I think my advice is kind of just enjoy whatever is next. Like just really embrace it for what it is. It may not look exactly the way you thought it would look the next couple of years in life, but that's okay. It's okay for it not to look that way. It's okay for you to be like, oh man, I thought it was going to look this way, or I thought it was going to have these things. But, just embrace what comes next. Find your joy in whatever it is that you're doing and just let it go. Just enjoy it.
I wrote an affirmation that I shared with some clients, and I'll share it here, Kia, if that's okay.
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm not unraveling, I'm unfolding. Release what no longer serves me, reclaim what was always mine, and rise rooted in wisdom, joy, and power.
And with that, thank you for spending your time with us. This episode was so cathartic. A deep, heartfelt thank you to our guests for their vulnerability, thoughtfulness, and honesty about being on the precipice of and living in midlife. We've reimagined it to be a beautiful new phase in our life's journey. In our next episode, we talk sandwiches, but not the ones you eat. Marjorie and Jaclyn are back with me to talk about being a part of the sandwich generation and what it really means to live in the middle, caring for the generation that raised you while still showing up for the generation coming behind you. The Invisibles is a production made in collaboration with the Amaya Group and IC Creative. Executive producer, Dr. Christopher C. Watson. Editing by Mark Ferg. Original music by Judah Mapson. And our deepest gratitude to our incredible guests for showing up with such openness, tenderness, and truth. Your voices made this space what it is. And to you, our listeners, thank you for being here. Thank you for pressing play, for listening with an open heart, and for trusting this space enough to sit with conversations that are often whispered, minimized, or carried alone. If this episode resonated with you, please subscribe, share it with someone who might need to hear it, and help us continue building this Invisibles community. The Invisibles can be found on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and Podbean. And be sure to follow us on Instagram at _invisibles_podcast for content between episodes. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. Stay curious, keep asking the hard questions, and remember, you are seen, you are valued, and you are not invisible.